Okay, for those of you wondering, yes, I'm in jeans. No, you don't care if you make fun of me. Did this all the way through college. There were a number of days which I was working my upper body. Didn't bother to change out clothes, just went straight to the gym. So, yeah, I'm used to a bit of mockery. That's alright. You live with it. You do it for the sake of the convenience. Can't complain. Alright. Reason I'm using these paper towels, this bar is a little bit dirty. It seems like it's oily more than anything. At least it's got something still in the knurling. I might take sponge or something like that and wipe it down. This is a stainless steel bar, so no worry about rust. I just gotta clean it off. I'm going to be moving slowly through the motion today. I'm going to try and freeze on the contraction. Okay. Now this bar is heavier than the rest of the setups. It's about 10 pounds. So even though I've set it to 170, and even though there's a bit of additional resistance in the system built in, not sure how much exactly, but it's enough. So it's not quite exactly 10 pounds, but we can just assume that this is actually about, give or take, 160, not 170. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, sit down, arms fully extended, grip engaged. Okay. I think a fly was buzzing around in my ear for a second there, so I lost my count. What is that? Wonder if my wife hit the ceiling. Let's see here. Get to poke it that way. Yeah, it's a tiny hole in the ceiling. Might even be me, honestly. Don't know how that happened. Anyway, might have been 9, might have been 10. Felt good. Felt good. Better than last week. Struggling on about 150, 140, 10. Good. Good. It's really starting to tax my grip. My calluses are starting to come back in full. Still don't have the thumbs here yet, which is good. Not working that hard. Suppose it wouldn't hurt too much to open the garage door. It's getting quite warm. Keeping up with the grip exercises, getting back to the previous max. Slowly, ever so slowly but surely. Come on. Okay, that was 8. Two more. Okay. I'm gonna start trying to put more effort into making videos, like real videos, not just live streams. One of the principles I'll talk about is, well, not really something that I learned from anyone, but more something that I experimented with in college, and it worked out not just for me, but for my friends, all different body types. Mostly worked for some of our skinnier folks, right? They saw the biggest gains. Now, the idea was effectively, Look, we're going to start with lower weights. We're going to condition. All right, first 2 weeks, you start out, you work your form. Now, next 2 to 3 weeks, as you get more into it, move away from the form, and while you try to maintain that as best you can, you start moving into just try to get 7 to 10 reps of as much weight as you can pull or push or whatever you're doing with the exercise. Now, that goes on for probably 4 to 5 weeks, a good span. And during this time, you're trying to increase the number of times you go to the gym. Now, it's easier in college because, of course, what else do you have to do with your life? You go to classes and then do your work, study up. You have no other responsibilities, so things were easy. But here, well, I mean, depends on who you are. For most of my students, no additional work. I had to work a little bit and had some extracurriculars, but even so, even for me, it's not too much additional responsibility, right? There's not a ton that you have to do. Just maintain your living space and that's it. You can hang out with your friends at the gym. You can eat with them afterwards. You do everything as a group. So your social life is pretty much set by your typical day-to-day. Now, once you get used to going to the gym, the idea is to finish off those 5 weeks of really pushing yourself. You should be able to do higher and higher weights incrementally throughout this time. But at the end of 5 weeks, you're going to start encountering a bit of resistance from your body. Oh, I don't want to grow phrase. And you're going to need a bit more nutrition. So in order to get that appetite spiked, what I do is I have folks go on 2 weeks of really high reps, looking for 3 to 5 reps. Sorry, really high weight, 3 to 5 reps. I don't do 1 rep maxes, think it's done. I don't think it's worth your time ever. What I prefer to see people to do is for 2 weeks, after you're done with your high reps, you move over to high weights and you do 3 to 5 reps, any exercise, all exercises through those 2 weeks. After you're done with that, you should have recruited some additional muscle fibers into typical motions. That was the intention. Whether that's actually how it works, I don't know. I don't run those tests, but it was effective. Now from there, the next week or 2, you're going to do drop sets for every exercise, brutal days. This is where people who don't have the commitment stop going to the gym. But it's painful. It helps a lot to not go by yourself. Now, at the end of those 2 weeks, we jump back to the high rep, low weight setup, and we go for another 2 to 4 weeks. And this depends. If you are a heavy mesomorph, you build muscle like nobody else, or if you tend to carry a lot of body fat on you, which I didn't used to, but after I put on more muscle, something happened with my body type and I started to carry more fat. It could just be a loss of metabolic activation, who knows? Whatever the case is, I carry more fat. So now I spend more time with high rep weeks. And you keep cycling through. No more than 2 weeks on the high weight, low rep. No more than 2 weeks on the drop set, what I call burnout workouts. Ideally 1 week of that. It's a lot to take if it's happening every 5 weeks. That's a lot of strain. It's not worth it. Very basic idea, and I'm going to employ that for the rest of this year. I'll have a break for about 2 weeks when I'm on vacation, but I will still be working out, just not with the weights because I won't have them where I'm going. Did I put the weight back up? I did not. Okay. Weight's back up. And we'll go in. One thing to note with the pull down, so I'm just going to demonstrate form here more than anything else. What I'm looking for is this full contraction, right? So if you're doing these properly, first off, you're starting up here. As you go down, you're going to pull your head back slightly. As you get here, your chest will start to come out. Yeah? Now, if the bar is touching your chest, first off, good job, you're properly aligned. All right, you're directly under the bar, or at least close enough. But you're pulling down too far. Really, here you stop using your pull muscles. It doesn't work like that anymore. You're starting to push down with your rotator cuff. And so if you consider this really the full range of motion, way too much. A good place to get to is about here. This is the maximum, really. So this is not too far under my chin. It's pretty much the top of my collarbone or a little bit lower. So I tend to shoot for here. This is what I consider a completed rep. Raise my chin and get over it. Now, if you're lower on the weights, you may wish to go a bit further below. All right. Below your chin without raising your chin, or maybe here. At most, right about your Adam's apple. Should be it. Do your motion, and back up. Now see this, when you're arching, you're really contracting your back muscles and pushing your sternum forward. It doesn't go much lower than this. Right below your chin when it's low. That's what you're aiming for. Keep that in mind. Okay. It's 3 sets of a good weight. Stretch out a bit. Okay, I'm going to do a couple warm down sets. Just to make sure I get some work into the parts of my form that I wasn't able to hit perfectly at the higher weights. One of the things you'll notice when you're doing this exercise is that it's very difficult to keep the bar frozen about here. It's really tough to keep it there, especially at the higher weights. And if you try to do that too much, you won't be able to hold it. So you don't want to try and keep it fully in place. You want to just slowly let it go back up. The rate of it going back up to you. The reason for that is because most of this is an exercise in generating momentum. Same is true when you're doing a pull-up, actually. Now, if you're doing a slow pull-up, kudos to you, because you're really training every part of your muscle. Well, your muscle's set, but in pull-downs, you're generating most of the momentum in this part of the motion. And this is where your bicep's really strong. It's good at this part. The rest, you'll notice that there isn't much room for your bicep to move or do anything. Now it's just this tiny motion as opposed to all of this So right here, 2/3 of the way through your motion, your bicep's done. It's not contributing anymore. So massive driver for the motion out of the equation. What you're left with is your lats trying to keep things locked down. And your rhomboids, if you've got things engaged this way, are trying to keep the bar stuck here. But your bicep isn't really caring anymore. It's trying to do what it can, but it's barely any force. So to get here in the first place, you're actually using the momentum of the initial movement to get things down here. You're not going to be able to likely, if you're putting in enough effort, keep the bar in place here. So let it go back slowly, but let it go back. Don't try to hold on to it. Freeze your motion if you can, and with these lower weights, with this one, should be able to. But don't be hard on yourself if it's too difficult. If you're doing a serious workout, you shouldn't be able to. Not for this route, not for this move. Maybe for others, yes. So the row, for example, the one I'm going to show you next. For that one, there's a possibility of really holding at the most contracted position. So for this, most contracted position being here. Everything should be screaming at you. It's tough to do. I can only do that with what are we working with? Like a 90? Yeah, about a 90 to 90 pound range, roughly right around there. That's where I can hold things down, even though we were doing 160 to get below the chin. With the row, things are easier. So, this foot pedal out here. Now, one thing I need for this setup is a band peg, so I can get some of the higher weights on here. But as things are, I'll do the weights that I can. And what I get is pretty decent for now. It's tough for me to do significantly more than 175 at the moment with the specifications I'm looking for. So I'll stick to it. But later, we're definitely going to need some higher weight. So let's get this thing lined up. Kind of show you what I mean by holding the contraction for this one. Now, with the row, got your legs here, you're pulling, and you're out here, right? Rhomboids contracted, everything there in your back, squeezed. You're trying to keep this close grip to your stomach, your chest, if that's what's more comfortable for you, I don't know. Depends on the length here, but trying to freeze things up. Okay, you can hold it here because yes, this is where your biceps are strong, but this is completely in line with the motion for your bicep, whereas top down, we're done. We're kind of just moving our shoulders around at this point. It's really hard for our biceps to contract any further. This is the lowest they get. Keep our hands here. As we pull down, your biceps don't do much. Here, because your back is moving in tandem, your biceps are still putting in the force all the way until here. You can force it to happen. And that's great. That's exactly what we want, because we're able to freeze our motion here and sustain the engagement of the muscles in our back and all the way throughout the groups that are being activated. Now, let's get this thing set up properly. Excellent. This here. Venus together. I'll show you what I mean with a slightly lower weight first. We'll amp it up for another 2 sets. We'll go back down to something like this again for the last set. Round out with 4. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is I prefer if on the higher weight or higher rep days, you're doing more sets. Would be nice. I haven't exemplified that really. Again, do as I say, not as I do, as it'll be better for you. But I'm going to try to hold myself to a higher standard today if I can. Stick with more sets. So, let's do this. All right, freeze. 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 Good. Now, that was 135. If I take this up to 175, first off, it's going to be really tough because my muscles are burned out from the pull downs. But you'll notice it's going to be way harder for me to freeze here. Now, another thing to know is if you've got a bit of a gut, and I definitely do right now, I've got a solid centimeter of fat here. Could be more, might be an inch, I don't know. But you can definitely see if I stand up, there's a bit of a gut here. Now you see this pooch here? There's a whole lot more than an inch, that's for sure. So lower abs definitely need some work and some tightening. But whatever, that aside, the main issue here that comes with that is that you're not really able to contract as hard as you want because your handle is going to hit your stomach earlier than you want them to. So the shoulder's not going as far back as you want it to. Now, if that's your concern, getting your real rear delt involved in this and getting more of the rhomboid activation, really getting it to contract fully. Okay, the deal with that is you want to, again, if you've got enough of a gut, or maybe if you're about as skinny as you can get, and it still doesn't work for you, insane shoulder mobility maybe. Well, in that case, you want to get a wider bar that's got its handles a little further away from where the bar separates, and open up a bit and pull. Now, you can see I don't have the mobility to get further than this, but as we clench inwards, oh yeah, I can get a hell of a lot further. Now, this is just because of the angle difference. You'll notice my elbow is in exactly the same spot. So for me, this is about the limit of my motion anyway. I could go a little further in, so if I get rid of this gut, I'll be good. I'll be good. Now, if my shoulder mobility improves, maybe that's not the case, and so maybe I have to change up the grip if I want to get that activation. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it when you're first starting. Right? That's stuff you worry about when you're identifying your weaknesses, both in your functional motions and your build in general. A lot of people say that aesthetics, oh, it's not important. Well, you know what? Half the reason you get fit so that you can look in the mirror and be satisfied with how you are physically constituting the world. And so if aesthetics play a significant part in that, and I'd wager they do for most people, focus on it. There's no harm, no foul. But pay attention to your imbalances. Pay attention to the ratios that you would prefer exist. And see what balance is going to work for you. Identify the weaknesses in your musculature and then cater your exercises to them. Now, enough of me stalling. Get a bit of my breath back and go. Okay, one thing to note with my movement there. You can probably see my elbows are not going as far back as they should. Part of it is with the higher weights, I'm relying again, momentum being generated to get back there. Now, once you're back there, holding a weight static is a little bit easier than getting it to move. So, it's possible, if you're really pushing yourself, to get the weight to the back and then hold it. And that's what I was doing for the first 3 or 4 reps. But I'm going at what? I was at 175. So it's a little bit beyond what I'm capable of on a high rep day. So I got to about 5, 6 reps and you could see that this wasn't working out, right? It was coming to here. I was having to swing my body for this. I'm not using my back like I'm supposed to. So I cut it, dropped to a lower weight. And now, when you tire things out like that, it's tough to keep going because your fibers are already, and they're dead, they're tired. So you need to use whatever juice is left in them to get the motion at the lower weight. Chances that you've got a ton in the tank, pretty low. So I jumped down about 50 pounds in total. I went to 125 instead. Ironed out another 6 reps, closed out. Now even those 6, only about 4 of them were with decent form at all. Not proud of that, but it's what it is. Again, everyone's got a priority order. All right. You're looking for perfect form? Look, that's not who I am. Maybe that's part of why I get injured more often than others, but whatever. I'll leave that alone. It's my priority set. So, perfect form. not the highest. I like it. I want to complete the motion. That's at the top for me. Being able to complete the motion is most important in my mind. Below that is form. Below that is strength. Although, you have to swap those priorities if you want them to get better over each other. Right? So improvements in those areas require some trade-off. But my highest priority is completing the motion. I believe that no matter what you do, forget strength, forget form, you will get those. You will even gain increased ability to exhibit those if you can complete the motion, finish the motion, move the weight where it's supposed to go. It doesn't have to be the perfect motion. You just have to move the weight. I think that is the highest priority above everything else. Now, to my understanding, if we're talking about the professional world of particularly powerlifting, different countries have different perspectives on this. No, without indicating any amount of love or fealty for anyone, I think the East Asian countries are more spot on. They align at least with my philosophy on this front, which is move the damn weight, move the weight. So that's what I do. Now, you're welcome to disagree on that front. You might have a different priority set, and that's A-okay with me. Just make sure you have your priorities in order and you know what you're trying to do. It's really hard to tell you how to improve if you're not sure what you're shooting for. I know that sounds weird because part of what you want from someone who's telling you how to do something is, oh, hey, this is the right way. But what I'd like to tell most folks is that there is no right way. The right way depends on what you want. And for everyone, that's just a little bit different, which isn't good. We don't want everyone working towards the same goal. We don't need everyone to look like Jeff Side. But that comes into play even in your training philosophy. What is it that you value in the course of building yourself? Get that priority list in order. Make a plan for it. Adjust things in a premeditated fashion and in an extemporaneous fashion. Ad lib as you encounter scenarios. How should I be modifying this to fit my goals, my needs, my desires? Think about it and operate on those principles. Don't mean to call anyone out with that, It's just you want to be responsible for your success. You don't want to point at someone and say, hey, look, they drove me to success. Because who are you without them at that point? So my goal, I think, and bear with me, I'm just trying to outline what I want to do with this channel because I'm not putting too much work into it just yet. I'm trying, I'm thinking about it. I think I'd like to give everyone the knowledge to start themselves on the course of improving their lives. Fitness being a pretty big priority because if you're not fit and you're not able to effectuate change in the world, it's not like you can do much else with your life. So it's a good place to start. It may not be everything I focus on, but I'd like you to carry this forward in your life without me giving you any more information. So I want to get you to a good place in perspective and mentality so that you can do this on your own. You don't have to care what other videos are put out there. Okay. That's gonna hurt. Okay, the issue with some of those is my back was contracting. My biceps were not doing it. So, again, jumping back to 125, trying to get my biceps back in the game. Now they're going to be pretty sore after this. And so, we have face pulls up next. Hopefully give them a bit of a break. So the key with biceps, you don't train them a ton. You shouldn't train them a ton. I mean, look at them. This, as a percentage of your body, first off, ignore the tiny biceps, but even if they were larger, they're not a huge percentage of my body. I think the quads, huge chunks of muscle, striated all the way through. Even your calves, frankly. Your calves are a whole lot bigger than your bicep for most people. You can't overtrain it. Not like you can easily overtrain it. It's not like your lats, where it's really hard to put it out of commission. It's not like your pecs that I talk about, giant muscles. These things are massive as far as your upper body is concerned. And then there's your abs, which are huge, all things considered. So, your abs, you can train pretty often. You can make progress that way. But your biceps, when these things are gone, there's all sorts of rips and tears throughout. This thing's broken and bleeding inside. Well, I mean, not literally, but figuratively. It is really messed up. So if you're trying to train your biceps, and really train your biceps more than once a week, be careful. You can't be destroying them on both days that you're training your biceps. One of them, sure. One of the days, destroy your biceps, but not both. Certainly not both. Sorry about that. Just testing something. Sometimes I worry this rack is not perfectly aligned with the angle of the wall. And it's really heavy, so I can't shift it now. But really it's kind of a perspective thing, and also wall itself is not the floor. Not in a perfectly straight line. This is kind of squished up against the wall, and so kind of gives the illusion that this thing is misaligned. Now, it might still be slightly, but not enough for me to care. Okay, last set, a little bit heavier than what I backed up to. Go with 135, knock that out. Okay, just to be sure. Yes, after this we've got face pulls, then one arm rows. Yep. I'll give it a try. I'm not confident that that's actually going to be good, and that it's a setup that I can dedicate myself to, if you will, because I'm going to have my hand up here and then pull the weight this way. And I'll be leaning against this thing right here, my face smashed up against it. I'm not a fan of that, as you can imagine, but we'll give it a shot. All right, sorry for stepping out. Just had a thought. A couple pieces of equipment I recently got. First, tricep rope, because as cool as that split thing is, it's really only good for the Facepulls, but I'm going to try this. See if I like it. I probably won't, but this is way better for the tricep pull downs, no question. So that rope, very versatile. Resistance band. Now I don't have a resistance band peg on this setup, so I'm going to have to order one. But I figured, hey look, might as well grab one, see if it helps out. And then there's this. My wife has been trying to work on ankle mobility so she can properly do the squats. And when she puts the bar right here, well, as you can imagine, if you're not used to weightlifting, it's uncomfortable. And also, she tends to lean really far forward, so the pressure starts to go on her neck, and yeah. But for the moment, see if we can get squat wedges and prevent that from happening. But look, as you go down, you want your nose to stay in the same place. That's the goal. Now, I usually put my knees way far over my toes. It's not going to be for the sake of lifting a ton of weight. If you want to lift a ton of weight, keep your knees pretty above your toes. Again, drop your nose, but keep in a straight line. You'll see yourself leaning forward a lot more though. Right? And that is to push your glutes, your butt back. All right. But you can get a lot more engagement out of all of your muscles doing that, so you can lift more weight. Is it good for you? I don't know, debatable. I don't think it's good for you posturally, but it's good if you're trying to do something in reality. Apparently you gotta move something heavy. All right, try that motion. It's not bad. Just make sure you do it good form. I think there's a lot of room to screw up there. A good chance to really dislocate your knees. So be careful with that. But anyway, this is supposed to help let the bar perch here without being nearly as painful. Maybe I can put this as a jammer on my chest. I'm leaning against this so my face isn't smushed directly into this rest. We'll see about that. I'm still only a lesson for this. Not a super exciting exercise, but it's a good one. Establish the fundamentals. It works your biceps, really destroys them. It's a fundamental pulling motion. How else are you going to learn how to row a boat? Okay. Oh, I finished that up. Got out of the way. Put this off to the side a little. And get this out of here. Okay. So now we're back to these calves handles. Again, try and build our grip because our biceps are weak. We got noodle arms. The best thing you can do is train up your grip. when there isn't nearly as much demand on them. Okay. That way, let's do this. Let's get everything involved in motion. Okay, let's see if this works even. Okay, goody. You know what? It's not half bad. Interestingly. Okay. Let's go over to 75. Let's kick this off. I'm really tired of this thing. Throwing off my weight calculations for everything over and over again. In fact, what I was probably doing before was I'd wager about 170 because this thing was eating up 10 pounds on a 1-to-1 pulley. Oh. Alright. So, what do we tell ourselves? Use this and grab this. Okay. Setup is good. That's unnecessary. And this is too much weight. Way too much weight. 55. Let's go. Excellent. Okay, it works, but frankly, I need something to hold on to push myself off of. I might need the dip bar or something so I can push on it. I don't know, something. But this isn't a great exercise ergonomically, so I'm going to leave it alone. But I'm going to iterate more. Now, the reason I'm showing you, I haven't tried that ahead of time, is I want to give you an honest portrayal of what it looks like. Yeah. Anyone can make up an exercise. There's not any specific way to do something. Now we rely on the tried and tested stuff because it's safe, it's proven. But you, as an individual, can bring unbounded creativity to your approach towards getting fit. It doesn't have to be what someone else tells you. It doesn't have to be doing everything the way that someone made up a long time ago. Everyone goes through the process of experimentation, iteration, figuring out whether something is good or stupid. In that case, that particular implementation, stupid. The idea, maybe not. Do I need to? Probably not. I worked a lot of the same stuff doing the rows. So one-armed rows, obviously, as the name implies, is a bit redundant. So that was a trial for me to see if it was a good idea or not. However, the real exercise I should be doing next is Facepulls. And we're going to try this with the good old tricep pull-down rope. Or tricep rope, tricep extension rope, whatever you want to call it. And my understanding is that Facepulls go something like this. I gotta admit, I feel pretty good actually. Might like it more than the other one. I gotta figure out what that thing can be used for effectively. But I will say that's not bad as well. Now there are some limitations to this thing, right? Let me try and explain what I mean with it. When we're using this, first off, if I try to hold it in this position right here, the most natural grip, it really wears away my thumb. So I gotta hold it like this. Now when I'm holding like this, it makes for a weak position here. And it's hard to actually hold on to it. And also I can't get really good torque when I'm up here. Because if I'm trying to go here, I'm trying to push out with my triceps while I'm pulling back. And I'm not trying to work my triceps right now. That's a pushing muscle. I've got a day for that. I might have a separate day set aside for triceps specifically, but I'm not trying to work my triceps here. I'm trying to contract my back. This doesn't do it as well as I want it to, but it's much easier on your wrists than that thing over there. So let me swap over. I'll show you what I mean. One thing to note, this thing will make you feel stronger because, well, it's heavy. At least it's heavier than the rope. So it's going to put some natural pull on the machine. And so I undid my own laces. It's going to pull down on the machine. It's going to make you feel about 5 pounds stronger on whatever movement you're engaging in here. But first off, let me retie this. Not too tightly, because I don't want to be unbalanced with the other one. All right, good enough. Good enough. Now, okay. First thing to note, it really does feel lighter. 2, it's way easier to hold on to these handles. Here, this is a much more natural position for my arms. But as you can see, look at that grip angle. My wrist is being bent in all sorts of wacky directions to accommodate the movement. Now, if I go like this, I don't have any way of holding on and pulling towards my back. So I gotta bend my wrists in order to keep this. But because it's a ball bearing, it doesn't really require that much force to spread my arms out, and it actually causes my back to contract more. And my triceps don't really do too much. I just maintain a certain angle of my arms. So, in some ways, I mean, I really like these. They don't make the weight as bad. You can hold on to it. It doesn't jam up your thumbs, particularly in your thumb knuckle, if you will, over here. So I think I prefer this overall. But all the same, not everyone wants to spend like 90 bucks on a questionable piece of equipment. Just grab this. It's like 15 bucks. It does like 20 different things. It's a way better use of your money. Only reason I end up with that, it was part of a package deal, and you got to try some things when it's created by a company that you really like. Yeah, I'd say my real big regret with these things is that this stopper right here, this one, I really wish they had this stopper. See this? There's only 120 degrees of motion allowed here, and I think this is really for purposes of safety. You've got this, so if you get into an unstable position, you can't just like completely rotate your shoulder around in some awkward angle, stop at a certain point, allow you to let go. But functionally, it's just not as good. I'd really like a ball bearing here as well, or something to that effect, just like those, that would allow me to get some more natural angles on this. And so, Prime Fitness, if you're listening, you don't have to contact me on this. Just you can if you want. If you want to ask, just take my word for it. Please make some free money on the back of this advice, but put another ball bearing here, man. It makes the motion so much more natural, and I can twist my arm in any way that I want. I don't have to have my wrist stuck in a variety of awkward angles. I mean, how often am I only engaging in a pulling motion? What is this supposed to even help me do? Look at this. My wrists are bent inwards this way. What am I supposed to be doing with this? Push it out like this, then go this way? Yeesh. Everything is an awkward motion. If I'm being honest, this is pretty damn close to exactly what the triceps rope was doing. And yes, it does feel better, but that's not a great enough use case for something this expensive. Contrived. Put a bit more flexibility into it. See what other safety mechanisms you can come up with that aren't straight up limitations to your equipment. It's really awkward. Okay, by the way, the reason I'm doing a lower weight today, which is, what am I eating at? 45? 45 instead of the usual like 65 or so. After the single arm rows, I definitely feel a bit in my trapezius, so I'm gonna lay off a bit on the first few sets. I'm gonna go to the higher weight, slightly higher weight that is. Okay, I'll see if this is effective, and if it's not, if I feel a twinge, again, we're not trying to go way past our known limits or something like that. Play the safe game on your high rep days. But, all right, yeah, this still works. Sheesh. Okay, last set for this one. Again, I'm going to skip over those and frankly, I'm a bit under-conditioned. I think I'm going to skip over the drawstrings today, go straight to the hammer curls, finish out, maybe do a bit to contract my back and expand out some of the ligaments here, my chest, and that will help with this lordosis that I've got going on as a consequence of working in the tech industry. You sit a ton, kind of hunch over your keyboard, code gremlin, right, yeah, not good for you. So, gotta fix that a bit. All right, come on, last set, let's go. One thing to know about pull days is it's really going to work your grip, because a large part of your grip, again, the three motions that I always assume are going to be the big sets of motion you got to focus on. Crush, roll, and pinch. Okay, of those, you don't do pinching very much, if at all, period. Crushing, sometimes, rarely. That's usually when you got a really small grip, small handle, trying to hold on tight. Think like monkey bars or something. Now the last one, the rolling grip, and that's what you get on pull day, because that's what you're trying to do. All right, you're not trying to crush this in the same position. You're trying to prevent it from rolling out of your grip like this. So that is the critical portion of what you're doing. And if you've ever seen a rolling thunder grip, that's effectively the case. You're trying to prevent it from slipping out. And so the last part of that roll is the hard contraction that you're trying to hold. Okay. Just saying, keep that in mind, because if you try to work your grip on pull day, it'll be first a rough time. You're going to think you're way weaker than you actually are. If you swap the order, thinking that you could train your grip before you do your pull And it'll fix things, it probably won't, because you're going to have to be stuck on really low weights, because your grip's going to give out. Now you can get specialized equipment like this to make sure you hold on, but frankly, you're not going to get the training of the natural motion if you do that. It's one of the reasons I try not to use those, and I prefer to use these for any exercises, but sometimes not the best grip. With this, you want something that's more of a flat grip, and if you're just getting that little thin bar or the thin grip, you might as well use that. It's the same deal. I get enough crushing training as it is. So, that as a quick FYI. Now, for hammers. Our biceps are already blown out here, but let's see if we can destroy them a little harder. Again. Ooh. Okay, let's not do that again. Alright. Okay, again. High rep day, right? So we're going with hammers at 40. Minimum 7. Max 10. Whatever you miss, up to 10. Make it up. Lower weights, or you stop and you finish them out with a penalty. Okay. That might be 9, but I think that was 10. So FYI, the different types of bicep curls will train your bicep in different ways. You'll get different shapes to your muscle belly. And if you're really looking for that, who's the most recent ridiculous IFBB pro? He dominated in like a straight string from 2011 to 2017. Man, how am I forgetting his name? Anyway, that dude, 3D muscle. He's got these really nice round muscle bellies. For that, for your bicep, you're trying to accentuate that peak, right? Now, you notice when you do this, it's not very wide. So what you're getting is really that peak, that height. If you want to get a round muscle belly, what you're trying to do is, instead of just getting the peak, to get something that's kind of like, honestly, a little weenie in shape. It's just a tiny ridge where it peaks out and the rest just falls off. You want it to be wider. So to get that wider peak, or just a wider muscle in general, instead of having your wrist supinated, you're going to go kind of like halfway to pronation, right here, okay? This is pronated, half supinated. Okay, so in between, this is the hammer position. Right, so this is going to train the width, all right? And now in reality, your bicep comes in like 3 pieces, not 2. It's a bit of a misnomer, but the third piece is right here. And it's really part of your forearm. Fully supinate your grip, fully pronate your grip and curl like this. Now it's a really hard motion, so you're going to be doing lower weights. But part of this is that you got to keep your wrist straight, right? Or even as you bend it, you're putting a lot of tension here. And so that'll naturally train up this part of your forearm. But it's also really a part that's going to be heavily activated in usage of your biceps. That's just useful to know in case you're trying to get a particular shape. Now, the muscle belly itself, attachment points, nothing you can do about it. I have short attachment points, so I can put like I can try and squeeze 3 fingers in here. It doesn't really work. It's kind of like pushing against the inside of my elbow here, so comfortably 2 fingers. Some folks can only fit 1. Some folks really can't fit any. But it's that gap, and everyone's just got something different. That's not something you can really change. I just want to let you know. Now, the more muscle you build, potentially you might have 1 fewer finger in there, right? So if I really push myself, maybe I can get to the point where really 2 fingers are about as tight as 3 are for me. Maybe it comes to the point where 1 is comfortable, but it's honestly not that likely that I'll get that far. It has nothing to do with the strength of your muscles. There's no physical, like, functional preference. It's just the way they look. And so those looks are different. Play to your strengths if that's what you're looking for. But don't beat yourself up in getting into this particular shape. You are who you are. You can't change that. Not really. Not without losing something else. And so come to terms with it. Accept it, and like what it is that you bring to the table. Play to your strengths. All right, the last 2 was a little bit of cheating, but so be it. Now, might have sounded like a little weird thing to say. Why am I trying to get you to focus on what you're given, what your body's like, your natural strengths? Look, I've had a fair bit of body dysmorphia throughout my life. I always think I'm skinnier than I am. And not only that, but there's just visual distortions all over the place whenever I'm looking at myself. Before, I used to think that I looked worse. Now I have a tendency to think I look better than I actually do. And neither of those are good, by the way. You don't want to have self-esteem or self-confidence that you haven't really earned and shouldn't be out there in the world. It's a mismatch between who you are and who you think you are. That's not good, because it means you're going to act in front of other people in ways that you probably shouldn't. You're going to overestimate yourself all the time, or underestimate yourself all the time. So you never really know what life could be like if you were just a little more aware. So try to build that where you can. And I know for a lot of you, there's oh, my body doesn't look exactly the way I want it to, or I'm too much like this and too much like that. Try to not believe your lying eyes. Because it's not your eyes, it's your brain. And your brain does all sorts of wacky things when it interprets the visual input. You have to know that you're seeing the world through a biased filter. And it might not seem like that. That's how it is. So do some physical comparisons. Pick something up. Let me pick this up, right? How much of this can I fit my hand around? A bit over half of it. Okay. Well, I don't think my arms are really quite this large, but actually it might be pretty close. Let's try. Okay, a little bit over half. So that's about right. It's about the size of my arms. Now, does this look noodly to me? Yeah, it actually looks noodly to me. So I think I'm a little spot on. But I'm also, I got a bit of a pump, right? So in reality, give or take, in an hour, just step away from here, try the same thing again. This thing is going to be bigger than my arm. And that's sad to me, because that's not what I'm seeing, right? I think I look better than I actually do. So everyone's got a bit of a bias. work to correct it, work to fix it. Because once you know, truly know, your strengths and your weaknesses, now you know how to move forward, you know how to improve. The worst thing you can do to yourself is to try to ignore the diagnosis. Figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're not, and then either accelerate where you want to really shine, to polish your strengths, or buff out your weaknesses, fill in the gaps. This is a fitness channel or something else. I don't know what to do with this thing, this channel. But anyway, all right, last set for the day. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining in, everyone. I appreciate it. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this channel. I might put up an introduction video, sort of splicing together what I put together before, or maybe I'll put together some other stuff. Just focus on, well, hey, what am I doing with my regimen right now? What am I focusing on? Why? So on and so forth. We'll figure that out soon enough. I'm hoping to get at least one video before I go on vacation that's not a live stream. We'll go from there. Okay. Whew, man. All right, I gotta start working on my abs and my core. But anyway. Thanks for joining in. I'll catch you all later.